After years of debate and speculation, the government has finally rolled out its political reform package, prompting a walkout of LegCo by pan-Democrat lawmakers who renewed their threat to vote it down.
Although it's being dubbed the final proposal, several issues remain unresolved, and officials insist it still can be changed at a later date.
Chief Secretary Carrie Lam ended months of predictions this morning when she finally unveiled the government's political reform package in LegCo. But even before Lam began addressing lawmakers, radical Leung Kwok Hong started the heckling. He was ordered to return to his seat. With many of the details already leaked weeks ago, there were no real surprises in today's announcement. The size of the nominating committee, the sole body empowered to pick chief executive candidates, will remain at 1,200 members. Even the composition is unchanged. Members will be drawn from the 4 sectors under the current election committee, ignoring calls to broaden the base to make it more representative. There will be 2 hurdles for chief executive hopefuls to get over. The first stage is called members' recommendation, where any person can seek nomination by securing at least 120, but not more than 240 votes from the committee. Each committee member will only have 1 vote, so there will be at least 5 preliminary candidates to be recommended, with a cap at 10. Stage 2 will be committee nomination, where each nominating committee member must back at least 2 candidates, but they can choose to support as many people as they like. At the same time, the candidates must be endorsed by more than half, or 601 votes of the nominating body. The rule was set by the National People's Congress Standing Committee last year, among other restrictions that angered the pan-democratic camp. 2 or 3 people will be selected as the final candidates. In cases where less than 2 people get majority support from the committee, Lam said it will be dealt with during the legislation period. The public will then choose their next leader by a one-person, one-vote system, and the candidate who receives the most votes wins. There will be only 1 round of voting, and there is no need to get more than 50% of all the ballots. Blank votes will be discarded. As soon as Lam finished her 30-minute speech, the pan-Democrats walked out of the chamber in concert to show their dissatisfaction towards the reform proposal. But 2 stayed in their seats: the League of Social Democrats Leung Kwok Hong and the Civic Party's Ronnie Tong, a moderate regarded as a potential swing voter. When it was his turn to carry Lam, Leung asked if the government is planning to dissolve LegCo and get rid of the pan-Democrats to gain passage of the reform plans. Before he was removed by President Jiang Yuk-sing for exceeding the time limit, Leung walked out of the chamber himself.
The government is confident that more people will endorse the reform package as it edges closer to a vote in LegCo in summer.
Chief Secretary Carrie Lam also denied suggestions that there will be no more changes to the election model once it is passed.
For our future, cherish this opportunity. Please support the universal suffrage proposal.
2017. Make it happen.
After her pitch to lawmakers, Chief Secretary Carrie Lam faced the media this afternoon to rally the public's support. She insisted the political reform proposal is not designed to screen out candidates seen as unfavorable by Beijing.
We are designing a system which we believe will be fair, open, transparent, and reasonably competitive in order to give the eligible voters sufficient choice to select your chief executive. But where there is room for us to make the process more competitive, more democratic, I think we have met that objective.
Critics have suggested that once Hong Kong pockets the current plan, then there will be no more adjustments in the future.
You will have to look at the legal basis and the legal procedures still available within the basic law and the relevant NPCSC interpretation for that changes to be effected.
Lam is confident that opinion polls will show Hong Kongers want lawmakers to pass the package. Before the unveiling, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying briefly met the press. He insisted that the SAR and central governments have been listening to different views in society throughout the whole process.
One of the things that we did, and we did it in front of everyone's eyes, is to provide the platform in April last year for the Pan-Democratic members of the Legislative Council to talk and listen to central government officials on the question of universal suffrage to elect the chief executive in Shanghai. We have fully and truthfully reflected the views of the Hong Kong people, including electoral members, to the central authorities.
He once again urged opposition lawmakers to give up their calls for compromise, saying the central government has made its stance clear.
The Chief Executive and Chief Secretary kicked off their promotional campaign this evening in Meifu. Leung Chun-ying joined Carrie Lam and her political reform teammates Lim Ski-yuen and Raymond Tam when they met supporters at the event. However, protesters waving banners drowned out their speeches by chanting slogans. Other ministers are also expected to hold similar meetings with the public over the next few days.
Pan-Democrats have slammed the political reform proposals, insisting there's no incentive for the government to make any changes if it's voted through.
They're launching a campaign calling on people to support their decision to veto the reform package. Arthur Urquiola reports.
This morning's walkout was a sign the Pan-Democrats are sticking to their threat to veto the reform plans. They argue that the government misled people by saying there could be more fine-tuning of the proposal after it is passed, as Lam made it clear that accepting the package means the basic law's provision on universal suffrage will have been met.
If we pocket it, that would mean we would give the chief executive, Central People's Government, an excuse to tell the rest of the world that Hong Kong has already accepted the ultimate model. There is no incentive for them to hand in their homeworks anymore. And the chief executive would have false legitimacy to do more harm to Hong Kong.
The Pan-Democrats are launching a campaign on Sunday to try to get public support for their veto plan.
It's just another way to express my dissatisfaction with the whole proposal, because this proposal, I've heard it before a year ago, and none of it has been changed. That's the sole reason. It's a total waste of my time.
While most of the Pan-Democrats left the chamber, League of Social Democrats Leung Kwok-hung stayed. He suggested giving voters a say by dismantling the legislature if the reform package is voted down.
So I urge C.Y. Leung and his officials to tell or to ask the central government to give them the permission to let C.Y. Leung announce that the political proposals of this time is in an important legislation or decisions in order to start the whole procedure to let the voters of Hong Kong to re-elect the Legislative Council after the proposal of the government have been rejected. So I think it's a very, very important step and a very fair step. So let the voters talk, not the official talk.
The pro-Beijing DAB party questioned the point of voting down the proposal.
We welcome that proposal, and we believe that with that political reform proposal, if we can get a pass in the Legislative Council, it is a big step for Hong Kong democracy. I would like to urge all legislators to rethink again. I just can't see why vetoing that can help to bring Hong Kong political development forward.
Pro-government lawmakers put on a united front as they called on the Pan-Democrats to support the proposals.
We will be supporting the government's efforts. The government announced that they will be mobilizing all senior officials and even EXCO members to help promote the motion. We will assist the government in this effort.
I think all our party members in different districts, DAB has the most, Regina also has many, many district council members. Together with our parties and other supporting organizations, we shall work together with the government to promote this package, which is good for Hong Kong.
With executive councillors and officials taking to the streets to whip up support for the reform package, the lawmakers called on those with opposing views to make them known peacefully and not be violent towards those publicizing the proposals. Arthur Akiola, ATV News.